Hi guys, Moritz here with another video. So whether you're already living in Switzerland or thinking of moving to Switzerland, one thing you might want to consider is whether you can or should get Swiss citizenship. So in this video, I'm going to provide you with an overview of the reasons why you might want to get Swiss citizenship, as well as the different pathways to citizenship in Switzerland. Also, before I get into the rest of the video, I wanted to mention that Switzerland does allow dual nationality. So if your current nationality allows it, you'll be able to keep your existing nationality when you get your Swiss citizenship. And lastly, I did my best to make sure that the information in this video is correct, but nationality rules do change, so you should always double check the official Swiss government websites for the latest information about getting citizenship before you start this process. So with that out of the way, let's just jump right into it. So why would you even want to get Swiss citizenship? For one, it allows you to live in Switzerland permanently. So one of the challenges with moving to a new country as an expat is that you can only stay in the country for a limited period of time, and this is often tied to a specific job that you might have at that time. By getting citizenship, you can stay in the country permanently, and this allows you a much greater flexibility in terms of which jobs you can do, as it allows you to work in a much bigger selection of jobs than you would as a non-citizen. So another benefit is that having citizenship is that it allows you to leave the country easily and come back whenever you want. Sometimes as an expat, if you leave a country for a certain length of time, you lose your residency permit, which can make extended travel difficult. So by having citizenship, you can get around this issue. For those of you with families or those thinking of starting a family, getting citizenship can be useful as it makes it easier for your children to get citizenship as well. This will allow them to live in the country in the long term and provide them with greater opportunities in life. Another reason some people may want to get Swiss citizenship is that Switzerland has one of the strongest passports in the world and is currently tied for second best passport in the world according to the Global Passport Index. This allows Swiss passport holders visa-free travel to 134 countries. So if you are from a country like India, where you only have visa-free travel to 54 countries, having Swiss passport will make foreign travel much easier. I would say that there are three main pathways to Swiss citizenship, which are citizenship through naturalization, citizenship through birth or descent, and citizenship through marriage. I will now provide a more detailed overview of how each of these pathways to citizenship works. I'll start by providing an overview of the process for citizenship through regular naturalization, since I think this is the most common pathway to citizenship for expats. So before I get into the details of regular naturalization, I wanted to let you know that there are other forms of facilitated naturalization for people who are married to a Swiss citizen or have one Swiss parent, which makes the naturalization process go much more quickly. But in this section, I will be talking about regular naturalization, which is for foreigners with no direct blood ties to Switzerland through birth or marriage. So for these individuals, they must live in the country for at least 10 years before they can apply for Swiss citizenship. You should also note that out of these 10 years, you need to have spent at least 3 of the last 5 years living in Switzerland before being eligible to apply for citizenship. It is also worth noting that for those with kids, the years spent in Switzerland between the ages of 8 and 18 count as double, with the actual length of residency needing to be at least 6 years. Another important criteria that needs to be met is that you have to hit a minimum language requirements. This means that you need to have knowledge of a national language at a minimum level of B1 for spoken interaction and A2 for writing. So for those of you who are not familiar with the grading system of the Common European Framework of Reference of Language, B1 is considered to be an intermediate level, while A2 is more of an elementary level of proficiency. In terms of things that can prevent you from getting Swiss citizenship, people who are on welfare or who have a criminal record are excluded from citizenship through naturalization. This whole process is handled by the State Secretariat for Migration, which is responsible for examining whether the applicant has integrated into the Swiss way of life, for example, by being familiar with Swiss customs and traditions, and not having done anything which would endanger the internal or external security of Switzerland. Once the State Secretary for Migration has made these checks and given you the go-ahead, you can begin the naturalization process. However, citizenship is still not guaranteed at this stage because the cantons and municipalities usually have their own requirements which must also be met. I've heard mixed things from other expats about which cantons are the easiest to get citizenship, with some saying that Geneva is quite easy because it doesn't involve the municipality, while I have heard others say that Zurich and Jura are quite easy as well. Another thing to keep in mind is that the cost of securing Swiss citizenship can vary quite a bit and can cost anywhere from a couple of hundred Swiss francs to a few thousand Swiss francs, depending on which canton your application is going through. The cost at the federal level is actually quite low, but at the cantonal or communal level, the fees can add up quite a bit. You should also keep in mind that the whole process can take several years, with the process taking longer in some cantons than others. In any case, you should check your canton to see which specific requirements they have put in place before you start the naturalization process. So getting citizenship through birth or descent is the most common way Swiss citizens acquire their citizenship. Unlike the United States, Switzerland does not automatically grant citizenship for being born on Swiss soil. A person can therefore only automatically become Swiss if they are the child of the married parents, of which at least one must be a Swiss citizen. Also, the child of an unmarried Swiss woman is automatically granted Swiss citizenship. Similarly, if the child is born to an unmarried Swiss father and has a foreign mom, the child can still automatically get Swiss citizenship as long as the father acknowledges the paternity of the child before they turn 22. In addition, a foreign child under the age of 22 who is not part of the naturalization process of a parent and has lived in Switzerland for 5 years, including 1 year immediately prior to the application, can also get Swiss citizenship in this way. And lastly, a child of a parent who lost their Swiss citizenship but can still show that they have close ties to Switzerland can get Swiss citizenship through birth as well. Citizenship through marriage. Another common way people get Swiss citizenship is by marrying another Swiss citizen. Switzerland allows for a fast-track process for Swiss citizenship through marriage if the following conditions are met. They must have lived in Switzerland for at least 5 years, including the 12 months directly before the application was made, have been married for at least 3 years, have a decent knowledge of a Swiss language, can show that they have integrated into Swiss life and have a good understanding of Swiss customs, which should be pretty easy if you are married to a Swiss national. Again, like the citizenship through naturalization process, you can't be a threat to the internal or external security of the country. And lastly, you may not have spent any time receiving social welfare benefits over the past 3 years. However, you can get around this requirement if you give back the amount of social benefits you have received during this time. Another thing to note is that if your spouse has passed away, then you can't apply for citizenship through this simplified process. So the whole process for getting Swiss citizenship through marriage should take between 12 to 18 months. So can you lose or renounce your Swiss citizenship? So a child who was born abroad and who holds another citizenship and has at least one Swiss parent can lose their Swiss citizenship when they reach age 25 if they haven't informed the Swiss government that they want to retain their Swiss citizenship. Swiss law does allow citizens to renounce their citizenship, but I won't go into the details of how this is done since the main topic of this video is how to get Swiss citizenship rather than how to renounce it. So that's my quick breakdown of how you can get Swiss citizenship. There's some other ways to get Swiss citizenship that I didn't mention in this video, like through adoption or through the refugee application process, but I think those methods are used much less often, so I didn't talk about them in detail in this video. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, I would appreciate if you hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really does help this channel. If you're interested in more videos about living in Switzerland or other countries around the world, why not consider subscribing? That's all for now. I hope to see you in the next video.